Boks by 10, 49-39. We called it. The aggregate score, Boks by 10. I'll take it. I would have liked a bit more, but when you've won one game out of 12 in a 6-year cycle, as we did between 2013 or 2012 and 2017, to win 4 in a row against the mighty men in black, record-breaking stuff. Very special group of players, these Springboks, and to do it in Cape Town in front of 57,000 people, what an occasion to be at. I love being there. I was behind the post. I was right there with Gillian when Sia Khaleesi scored, and I did call it. I said he will score here because we didn't look like ever scoring in that first half. But second half came, we played a bit more tighter, we played with a bit more structure, and we played a lot more direct. And we scored out 2 tries.
Mate, apparently, it was a bit of a distraction at the stadium. Some of the people spotted Father Christmas and wanted to sit on his lap.
They were looking for me. They were looking for you. They were looking for Imad. Loving our show, saying, when is the next one coming out? Well, it's not coming out tonight, mate.
Give us a moment.
It was very festive. Just a wonderful atmosphere. And hopefully we can put to bed this thing that the All Blacks against the Springboks in Cape Town is a home game for the All Blacks. It's not a home game at all. 57,000 people there, and I can tell you, if I had seen 500 with All Black kit on, it was a lot. And at the end of the game, it was down to about 100.
Yeah, no, look.
Everyone was green and gold there.
In terms of, look, we're in 2024. I think people back winners. That's the nature of sport. And back in the old days when the Crusaders used to rock up here with DC and Richie McCaw and smash everybody, and then they used to come back in the black jersey and smash everybody. It was pretty easy to support them. It reminds me of when United were at their peak. Everybody had a red jersey. Now everyone's got a blue jersey. They're all Man City fans. That's the nature of being a sports fan. So I think those days are behind us. Thank goodness we've now won 4 in a row against the All Blacks.
And we'll play them 2 away next year. And that would be great if we can go and win over them, win an away series as well. Really then define this team as one of the great ones.
Sure.
But before that, we do have a little trip to Argentina. Squad gets announced a bit later this week. And then we wrap it all up in Nelspruit when we take the Rugby Championship. Got the Freedom Cup back. First time since 2009. Glorious. Poignantly.
It's not one you can drink out of, though, is it?
Nah, it's all about freedom, man. Yeah. In the 30th year of democracy and unity in our sport.
Magic.
But just the weather gods were brilliant on Saturday night. There was no or very little wind to speak of. It was just this beautiful evening in Cape Town. There was a buzz. She put on her finest performance against the old foe. And just to be there is one of those memories to bank. And we'd love to hear, if you were at the stadium, give us a comment. Tell us what your best moment was. Mine was the final whistle.
Post your pictures with Keo. Yours was the final whistle.
I loved it. Only then did I know it was safe. Because as the buzzer went, they were awarded a penalty. We're 18-12 up. And Gil taps my leg and she goes, yes! And I'm like, don't do that. They still have a line out. And I had visions of 1918, that Damian McKenzie slotting an angle conversion into the wind. Fortunately, Big Peter Steph Toy, who else, got up, stole that ball, and Ruan Nokia grabbed it into touch like a fine halfback.
We found his position.
But again, the big moments, the Boks just played them better. And all credit to the All Blacks at Ellis Park and at the Cape Town Stadium for really fronting for 65 minutes. Their pack surprised me. The physicality of their players surprised me. I thought that we'd be more dominant there. But once again, our bench. And we went with a 5-3 split, not a 6-2 or 7-1 split. But our bench, huge impact. Malcolm Marx was just outstanding. Sia starting 56 minutes. When he went off, on came Kwagga. And no one wanted Sia to leave, but everyone wanted to see Kwagga. Yeah. So what a great combination. And Damien Deolandi, we've been saying it for how long? Yeah. Best 12 in the world.
The beast.
And player of the match. You know, my personal favorite would have been Sia if you played through. But Damien Deolandi, great call, player of the match. And so many big performances in key moments that won us that test match. Collectively, I know you still have issues with Mr. Tony Brown.
No. Great result. We need to just. I think we just need to soak up the results and enjoy the moment. We've won 20 of the last 23, like Russ said. It's fantastic to be on top. I don't think we should unpack the performance too much.
Now we have to unpack it. My mate Craig Clutie, my oldest friend, great rugby player in his day, one of the best number 8s that I've seen play the game. Then injury robbed him of a career when he was 19. And he sent me a nice message. And he said, can you soberly unpack the Tony Brown influence and how he's evolving our game? And I'm going to ask you, how is he evolving our game? No, sober, not emotional, mate.
No, mate. He's devolving our game. And you can't blame Tony. Tony is an attack coach. We brought him in to do what he does. This is his plan. This is how he got Japan to be as good as Japan was. And he's had success doing this stuff. I just feel like we're putting racing slicks on a bulldozer truck at the moment. So it doesn't make sense to me. The performances have been a bit of a joke, to be honest.
A bit of a joke. Yeah, no, we just beat the All Blacks
twice,
It's quite
difficult to take the Boks seriously when they're playing like this. They are so much better than these All Blacks. Like we've waited a very, very long time to catch the All Blacks at this low ebb. And to now be wasting it on narrow wins that should be massive victories is disappointing. But at the same time, you have to trust the guy who's won back-to-back World Cups, who's won everywhere he's gone, that this is part of a bigger plan. But it kind of puts a little asterisk on this stuff, because we should have beaten these guys by 20 points, the same as last week. The All Blacks played above themselves, we played below ourselves, and we're in a bit of a habit of making some really world-class players look pretty average. And I think the public, I mean, you're already starting to hear Oak say, oh, Willie LaRue, what's he doing there? Get rid of him. He's past it. You know, when you start playing circus rugby, then the guys who know how to play winning rugby start to look a bit ordinary. And I just wonder where we're headed with that and what some of the fallout might be. But again, we've beaten the All Blacks now 4 times in a row, won 20 of 23. We're on our way to winning the Rugby Championship. We're the number 1 team in the world. It's quite tricky to be criticizing the Boks at this point.
It is. So not bad for a circus then.
But, you know, having said that, I was there in 2009 when everybody said exactly the same thing. Oh, but we've just beaten the Boks 3 times in a row. What you worried about? And I said, guys, the players are running this team themselves. They're basically picking themselves in these teams. This is not sustainable. Oh, you're just being negative. We won the 2009 Tri-Nations, beat the All Blacks 3 times in a row. The next season, at the end of 2009, we lost to Leicester on tour. And then the next year we won 1 game in the Rugby Championship. And it was a debacle leading up to the World Cup, which ended ingloriously for us. So soak it up, enjoy it. I'm just saying, when the chickens come home to roost, if they do, we will look back to this time and be like, we should just have freaking pumped the gas and destroyed these guys instead of being so nice to them.
But everyone's talking about how we're evolving our game. We're playing at a greater tempo, offloading in the tackle, keeping momentum going. For me, looking at that first 40 on Saturday, it really just kept them in the game. We were going coast to coast, side to side. I did text you during the game. Fortunately, it didn't go through. That's the one good thing about being at the Cape Town Stadium. You can't get a signal, so all one's frustrations never get posted because there's just no way of it being accepted.
Yeah.
But we started off in that third. It was, I think, between the 3rd and the 4th minute. Offloading the tackle, run around, loops, you name it.
Whimsical.
Till we eventually knocked the ball on. They kicked it through, and 40 meters we went backwards.
Nice.
And it reminded me of New Zealand playing against South Africa and coming in with first 5 minutes, coast to coast, left, right, 18 phases, drop the ball, and we hoof it forward, and they're 5 meters from their own try line defending. I just felt I would like to see more field position. And a little bit more structure. Again, not detracting from the result, and we got the win and it was fantastic, but there was just, we never looked like we had our foot on the jugular.
Imagine being a Mike Tyson fan back in the heyday, and you save up to get to the MGM Grand to watch Mike Tyson, and he comes on, the music's pumping, poof, poof, crowd's going crazy, this killer walks into the ring, they start the fight, and for the first 10 rounds, he's jabbing. Stick and move. And you think, what is going on here?
He's dancing to put on an exhibition.
He
doesn't want to knock the guy out.
He's fighting George Foreman. The guy's 50. Why is he jabbing? He's jabbing. And he goes and sits down after every round, and the coach is like, hey, I think we're ahead on points, Mike. And
We just want to show them you can box.
we just want to make sure that if they can block your hook, that you've got a plan B. Why? Then finally in round 11, he's like, yeah, it's a little bit tight. Just walks into the middle of the ring, left hook, bang, fight over. And all his fans are like, yes, he's still world champion. And everybody's celebrating. And the event was amazing. But why? Why didn't you just knock him out in the first round?
Isn't this, though, to Rassie's thing of developing players, upskilling them a bit more, to give us that plan B if it doesn't go right on that one day where potentially an Ireland or a France physically stand up to us, that we can play a different way?
I think that's a nice narrative that is easy for the media to sell, and all the hacks will jump on that, and they'll all be on the, let's give it a chance because if we need a plan B, rubbish. The reality is this exposes players that know how to win test matches playing test match rugby. It exposes them. Pieter-Steph du Toit is a fantastic player, a world-class elite world player of the year kind of player. And we've got him he's got the finesse of Shrek with the ball. Like having him on the edge looking to offload, bombing passes into Oak's stomachs is just, it's unnecessary and it's silly. Willie Leroux looks like he doesn't know what he's doing out there, but we've seen what he can do when you give him the keys. What did he do for the Bulls in that semi-final where he just controlled the game with his boot? Now we've got him looking like he's tap dancing. It's going to expose guys who are the real deal, and it's going to accentuate guys who are not going to be able to play test match rugby. So you're going to start finding guys who excel at this kind of stuff. And then when you get to the biggest stage under the brightest lights, when you've got to play efficiently and park what your heart's saying and play what your head's saying, you're going to have players who can't do that. That's my gut feeling. Again, it's Rassie Erasmus. He wins everywhere he goes. He always has a plan that's 3 years in advance. So you have to trust that this is part of something bigger. I'm just commenting on what I see and what I think.
Are you frustrated watching the Boks?
It is very, very, very frustrating to watch the Boks because we could be setting records against these guys. And these guys will recover. These All Blacks will bounce back. And we'll look back to the days where we took a 4 and a 6-point win and could have taken a 20-point win and think, we should actually have, when it was a free buffet, we should have taken some Tupperware. You know what I mean?
It's Monday morning. You look so irritable, eh? You look so irritable. Do you know that we just beat the All Blacks?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, mate.
Boks by 10.
It's glorious.
Aggregate score 49-39. All right. Looking at the way they played, you said the one guy you wouldn't want to be is Frans Malherbe because
he must be exhausted. He must just absolutely be exhausted, running around the field, chasing these little oaks, popping offloads for nothing. And he must be absolutely knackered, mate. Shame. We love you, Francie.
I think they're going to give Francie a little rest when they go down to Argentina as well. What do you make of... We're going to go back to that All Black performance, but what do you make of Rassie coming out and saying the guys who are playing in Argentina already know who they are and it's not going to be the core of the players that played here?
Fabulous. He's on a mission to unearth new guys and give guys opportunities, and we've got some credit now. We need, I think, 3 points or something to win this thing, to win the whole tournament. So we've got some credit in the bank. Absolutely. Use it to have a look at Oaks. I hope we do it in a way where it's a little bit structured and controlled so that guys have a platform to play off and it's not just like, hey, you just spin the bottle that you're playing lock. I hope there's, some sort of structure that guys can put a decent performance against Argentina, but that's absolutely the way to go. So
are we good enough to kind of leave 15 players behind in South Africa who will play in Nelspruit and go win over there?
Well, mate, I mean, we've left all sorts of Oaks out and smashed Australia. Argentina's a tricky one because they are very up and down. If they get a sniff on the day, they can hurt you. But also if they're off, you can put 60 points on them. So I think a lot of it will come down to the combinations and how much cohesion we're able to retain. If you ask me, it looks like the Boks are playing quite unstructured rugby at the moment, which makes it quite dicey. But this team have shown that they can convert experience into clutch moments and taking the right options to win games. So it may not be pretty, and it generally isn't when we play Argentina. We mustn't pretend like usually we play exciting, wide, expansive rugby and score 6 tries and beat Argentina that way. Often it becomes quite a python-on-python sort of wrestle fest. So,
well, I mean, 2023, we got out of jail with a point
there you go.
At home. What's a 31-30? Changed most of that team and went down there and won quite well. I think 24-16 or 24-30.
Wasn't there 22-21 in there somewhere? I don't know.
Well, and Mani Lebok played well down there. They announced the squad tomorrow, I think it is. I'm sure Mani will be back again. And I think the best 23 that he's got will play in Nelspruit, where they crown the Rugby Championship. But we can only be the wiser for going to Argentina and actually trying guys who are maybe number 3 in the pecking order.
Totally. And that's the luxury of the success that they've enjoyed so far this season, is that you can do things like this, you know, with the expectation that you'll win.
And it's easier to do it when you win. I mean, you look at the All Blacks. They 4 from 7 now. 4 from 7, and they sneaked in against England, 16-15, and were defending their try line in the last minute against England as well. So, you know, it could have been a lot worse for them at this stage. You look at their selections. I think Scott Robinson's lost more test matches this season than I think he lost Super Rugby games in the first 2 seasons as the Crusaders coach.
Yeah.
So a very different ball game. But I was, again, like I said to you, I was surprised at how competitive their starting pack was for that hour to 65 minutes in both tests. But hugely disappointed with what I saw with their backs. And you've got one of the great finishers, Will Jordan, who says he prefers playing fullback. He's incredible strike rate on the win. They play him at fullback. Their most experienced player, we believe, should be playing 10. He gets brought on with the last 15 minutes. Never really gets into the game at fullback. Sevu Reece, I think he's done and dusted now. Cheslin showed him a clean pair of heels.
Wow.
The midfield, we keep on talking about it. Jordy and Rico, individually very good players, but just not a midfield combination that asked any questions of us.
No.
And Mackenzie, the more the heat went on, the more he disappeared in the game.
Totally.
So, again, they just don't seem to have got their selections right, and I'm quite surprised with that, with Scott Robinson. What have you made of it?
Yeah, I'm very surprised by those selections. I definitely expected more from Razor in terms of the sort of savvy of the way that they play, and obviously selections play into that. As much as I like Bowden at fullback, in this team that he's got there and the players available to him, Will Jordan is just a machine. I like him at fullback. Obviously, he's a great finisher as well. But he's just a guy for the moments. He plays the big moments well. He understands where to be and when to be there. Having him and Bowden, who's a massive gain line threat, big body, fast, and is also a massive X-factor player, is significantly an upgrade on Mackenzie at 10, especially when you've got Cortez Ratima playing one of his first tests at 9. You know, it's not like they have Aaron Smith at 9 and they're playing Damien Mackenzie. It's not like they've got Kieran Reid, Richie McCaw, Aaron Smith, and they're playing Damien Mackenzie. Damien Mackenzie is playing behind a pack that's battling for parity, and Bowden Barrett's on the bench. It didn't make any sense to me. You saw the value of a guy like a thumper like Wallace Satiti, who comes in there and starts throwing a few haymakers. Definitely gave some punch to that pack, and they need more of that. And then that front row, they've got something there. When Ethan de Groot comes back, or de Groot comes back, Tamaiti Williams got the wood on Frans Malhabo a couple of times in that game. He's proper. Terrell Lomax played almost the whole match. When the Tongan hooker comes back, Takiao, Tamaiti Williams, de Groot, Terrell Lomax, and Fletcher Newell, they've got front row stocks there. So what they need is some pile drivers behind them to get them going forward, and then invest in these Satiti, these youngsters who are bulletproof right now, who just want to smash people. That's the way forward for them. So there are signs there. For me, what was concerning for the Boks and what was good for the All Blacks is what has underwritten the Boks' success under Rassie is the scrum, because we can get field position and be in the strike zone very quickly. Anytime there's a knock on, we scrum, we get a penalty, and we go there, and then we maul. Okay, they took us on at the scrum. I wouldn't say we had dominance there for the majority of that game. I thought it was quite even. And then at the line-out, because we've been playing silly buggers with our line-outs, 3-man line-outs, 4-man line-outs, we can't even do a proper line-out anymore. Our line-out's a complete mess at the moment. So at the set piece, we are now vulnerable in some ways against teams that have less cohesion than us. And that's a positive for New Zealand and a negative for South Africa. And that's something that I think Razor can build on. And if he's more efficient with his plan in terms of the tactics they play, it kind of takes some of the heat off that set piece assault.
If you look at the Springboks season so far, not just the Rugby Championship, they've just dropped that one game. It was two late drop goals against Ireland in Durban. I mean, it's been one hell of one hell of a ride.
Brilliant.
When you see the players that he's developed, and it's something he couldn't do in 2020 because of COVID. He's been willing to put players into big pressure situations. We go back to the Ellis Park test when he played Fussy at 15. He played Sasha at 10. Willing to put Al Hilal on at 8 in the second half. He gave the youngsters a taste of it and to see how they would come through. And they flourished. And I think you've been way too critical, mate. Way too critical.
I like the sound of that, mate. I haven't heard that before.
Way too critical. We have just beaten the All Blacks twice in a row. We didn't concede a try against them. And it's the first time since 2001.
Not for lack of try.
And Tony Brown was actually playing in that game at Newlands. It's a match where, unfortunately, Monty and Butch James fluffed a few kicks. There was also an incredible tackle by Jonah Lomu on Mark Andrews as he was going over on the grandstand side. But they beat us 12-3. It was the test where Maurice Joubert and Joe Van made their debuts. Big Joe came off the bench, and Joubert lasted 6 minutes, and he tore his knee ligaments. But a really, really feisty test match. 12 points they scored then, 12 points they scored on Saturday. The difference is we got 18 this time. Last time we only got 3. But it's been 23 years since they haven't scored against us. So, yes, I share your kind of irritation in terms of this offloading the tackle, big guys who can just be straight to the line and running over someone, not doing that. But I just thought, and then when you watch the game from behind the post where I was, you just see the play unfold. You see the poor decision making. You see the very accurate decision making. You see what a guy like Willie's trying to do, which you don't always get on television. You don't get from side on.
Yeah.
And then someone else is not on the same page, and he looks like a fool. But we scrambled. We missed a lot of one-on-one tackles. I think the first 20 minutes, there was 36 tackles we had made, and we had missed 18, and they had missed 1 and made 20.
Dwayne Vermeulen must be pulling out what's left of his hair, man.
So that was kind of like hugely impressive that there were times where I thought they have to score here.
Yeah.
They've stretched us so wide, and somehow there was someone coming across, forcing them to go inside, and then it was like the washing machine treatment. We were rolling them there. So what's hell of impressive about this Boks side is they play for each other.
Oh, 100%.
And
no doubt.
You can't coach scrambling defense.
No doubt.
And the greatest coaches will tell you that when they define how special their teams are, it's when there's a tackle slipped or there's a bad judgment, miscommunication, no one bitches, no one moans, someone just turns and scrambles. And we saw that plenty in Cape Town. And I thought that was one of the greatest positives to take out the test match was that we kept them trialists. And it wasn't because they didn't have much possession. There were time periods of play where it was just all New Zealand building their phases, kind of playing well. It's also New Zealand. It wasn't that we rolled over a New Zealand side that didn't play well. I thought that
they played extremely well.
It's the two best performances I've seen from them this season for that first 65 minutes. But we did say in the preview it was going to be like that. They would hold us for 65 minutes, and then the last 15, our bench would make a difference. A guy that's really impressed me, your thoughts, Gerard Steenkamp?
Well, I mean, you were talking about how Rassie's brought through guys, and that's the first name that sprang to mind. Obviously, Sasha's come through, had a massive breakout season. I can't say I'm surprised by it. We did kind of expect it. We predicted he'd have a big year. He's taken his opportunity and run with it. And Rassie has put him in position to succeed like that. But also not in a way where it was like anybody could have done it. Like he actually gave him the keys and said, go for it, kid. And he's done it. And Gerard Steenkamp is another guy, silent assassin, who's got given a gap. Very few people would have thought that was an obvious choice to call up to the Boks squad. He's been great. And the list goes on. I mean, yeah, just the way that we've absorbed injuries like we have in the lock department. Ruan Okia, bit of a slow start, but has definitely taken his shot. Obviously, Jasper being out with suspension. Ulrich Lowe's had a gap. He's taken his shot. So we're definitely growing our player pool. And I mean, like the Oaks on Breakdown have admitted, we've got a wealth of players that we can pick from regardless. I mean, we have injuries. We just fill it up with another guy who can do the exact same job. So it's an impressive thing to see.
And what's been hugely encouraging is a guy like Fussy coming back into the mix in Ulrich Lowe. They were in the mix 2 years ago and then kind of fell out of favor.
Yeah.
They were told to go work on certain aspects of the game. They came back and they've really thrived when given the opportunity. And again, it's not like they were given the opportunity against Portugal, against Italy. They were given against the All Blacks.
Exactly.
And they came through. A maturity to their game, the confidence that they will get with that. And then I think just the honesty and transparency that you're getting from Rassie when he talks about the players at press conferences. You kind of know who's 1, 2, and 3 in his pecking order. He doesn't deny that. He'll tell you why he's not picking a player or why he is picking a player. So I just think when we look at the depth that's been brought through here, and he's managed to sustain a winning culture while bringing it through, 20 wins out of 23, that's kind of like snuck up on us. Totally. Because it's the one thing that we always felt, that boxing between World Cups, that consistency, they're a World Cup winning kind of like squad, but they don't win consistently. This has been the exception, not the rule in terms of the professional age for the Springboks.
Yeah.
So 20 out of 23 wins. That's what he spoke about post-2019. And then COVID was the bugger that kind of really upset everything. But he was like, we've got to win consistently. We've got to win at home, and we've got to win those matches away from home where people think it's a 50-50 call. So I can't be as negative as you, mate. As much as I want to. I can't, because I actually look at how different the side that won at Ellis Park and won in Cape Town was from the side that won the World Cup final, in terms of the way they played, in terms of the player personnel. And I think it's just been a magnificent rugby championship. We went to Australia, we destroyed them, as we felt we should, playing 2 different teams. And again, Argentina put that into context this weekend. This is a very, very, very vulnerable Australian side. They were 20 points to 3 up, and they lost 67-27. Now, respect for the RGs, like you said, when they're on, they can play. We saw that in Wellington when they beat the All Blacks. Well, we saw the converse a week later. They took 40 in the first 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But for me, again, like just the way he's handled his players. 3 does go into 2. The way he put Jesse out onto the wing, gave Lukanya Ayam some game time, kept Damien Delandi there, knew his importance in that test match. How he's entrusted Cheslin. But also it just shows you, Kane and Moody, the difference between playing Currie Cup and playing Test rugby, 5% off potentially in confidence, and you could just see it. And as Rassie said afterwards, they just got to get him back on the horse and kind of get his confidence levels up as well. So...
But you talk about small margins there, and that really is my point. It's about, when I bring up these things that are tactical, it's not for nothing, because when they beat us 57-0, 10 of those guys from the team that scored 57 points were in the matchday squad this weekend. And 10 of the guys who were on the team that scored zip were in the matchday squad on the weekend. So, yes, you've got to have good players, and you've got to have them in peak condition, and they've got to be informed, but the coaching does matter. The plan and the way that you play does matter. And not just for bums on seats, I had a great time at the stadium. In terms of the scoreboard, it directly affects it. And it's not PlayStation, where you can just switch between plans and switch between players, and everybody always runs at 100% speed and 100% efficiency. The context of how you get to a way that you play and the backstory behind that does influence the output at the end. So it is important that the Boks, out of this whole thing, find an efficient way to play rugby, because at the moment they're not efficient. Are they getting results in spite of great setbacks and showing their experience and beating some great teams historically? Absolutely, and kudos to them for that. But there's a sloppiness. They're leaving a lot of Kellogg's cornflakes on the kitchen table when they make breakfast at the moment, and that can come back to bite them.
If you look at the kicking field position percentages, it's your kind of game, okay? But the contestables, between the 2 test matches, I think we kicked 32 and 26, 58, and we won back 14. They kicked 45 and won back 3.
They are hideous at the moment under the high ball. We are average to below average.
Is it an area that you see us when we go up north at the end of the season? You'll see a far more disciplined, far more structured game from the Boks?
I would love to say yes, but and that's the thing that Rassie's got 100% right here, is people actually don't know what's coming. If they go back to playing a much more structured game and we're launching bombs from 9 and going to go chase those, I think your contestable rate probably goes up because you train for it. Like, for example, if you look at the lineouts that they were losing on the weekend, when we stuck to the 6+1, and we had our line-out system, and that's what we trained, and it was simple, our efficiency was good. Now we're playing with various different line-out combinations, and suddenly there's a lack of cohesion there. And it's got very little to do with Ruan or Keo, and I think a lot to do with changing your plan and having multiple layers. So where before you were just aiming on doing one thing to maximum efficiency, now you're trying to do 7 things at above average efficiency. And I think that's where the mistakes come in. So with the contestables, if the guys know, listen, we're going to kick 10 contestables this week, that's what they train in the week. But when the contestables are parked as a sort of tertiary tactic, it's not a focus in training, it's not a focus in your mindset. So I think you're seeing the consequences of that. So if the Boks return to playing more efficient rugby, they will be more efficient in all facets, including those contestables. And I think we've seen before, we've got the players to do it. It's not that the players are not good at catching contestables. The focus just isn't there at the moment.
If you look at the areas of the game, the breakdown, referee interpretation, or were we getting clobbered there?
So again, I'm going to keep playing the same harp here, but when you have a breakdown that's got nobody or one player, like our breakdown is so light now at stages in the game, there's almost nobody there. So where before we'd have 2 and sometimes have a third oak having to come in and take care of business because we were playing narrow, we're trying to put 17 oaks in the back line with one guy cleaning at the breakdown. So it does become a bit more of a lottery because of that. And the next phase, because you've had to rush it now, you're under pressure there, is consequently it's got a knock-on effect. So I think some of it may be referee interpretation, but I think a lot of it is directly linked to the style of rugby we're trying to deploy.
What did you make of the match officiating?
I thought it was reasonable. I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't
think it was
particularly good. Yeah, it was pretty consistent. Yeah, but I don't know.
And the breakdown, it's an area that can be fixed.
Well, I mean, a breakdown wouldn't be an issue. As soon as we pick and drive, the breakdown is off the table as an area of question. As soon as we go direct, forwards picking the ball up and going, or one pass to a forward crashing over the game line, then we look like bosses again.
All right, and now guys can't peak every week. We know that. You're
100%.
building towards a peak, and I think the All Blacks were, as they said, this was the most important game since the World Cup final for them, to win the series at home, win back the Freedom Cup, and put themselves in a position to win the Rugby Championship. But a guy like Bongi just looks like he's a little bit off the pace. Do you think he could be carrying an injury?
I don't know. We've kind of been talking around that for a while. He's definitely not at his best. And I mean, I'm a huge Bongi fan. Great leader, amazing player, good set piece guy. But there's definitely something missing. Again, when you start moving tight forwards all over the field and their running meters go up and there's question marks about who's doing what at which breakdown, it does take away from your game. I'm not surprised to see that stalwarts of the percentage game are looking off form, grey, and a bit stale in the way that they play.
Or half a yard off the pace.
Exactly.
Because they are playing at a tempo they've never played at before.
And they're reacting more.
And using the width that they've never used before.
Yeah.
If you look at Grant Williams at 9, I think Grant Williams is a fantastic athlete. And to me, the perfect 9 to come off the bench in the last 20, 25 minutes of a game, up against tired legs and that. I just felt that defensively, he doesn't give you that grunt as a starting 9. And that's the one area, if you look through that whole squad, with Faf being out, it's the one area that I think, we're not quite as blessed as we may think we are with 9s.
Absolutely.
When you think of our locks and our loose forwards and our back 3 options,
absolutely,
that is the one area that I think teams could potentially target us.
It's not so much that we're not blessed with the talent, it's that circumstances have conspired to not allow Rassie to actually install Oaks there to get answers. Kobus has been underwhelming. Jaden Hendricks has been injured. Granty Williams has had to wait quite a while to get his shot to start, and then it's quite helter-skelter. I think his speed is of massive value when you're scrambling, but certainly not a physical defender. And then guys like Sanelli and Morne van den Berg are on the outs, and we haven't really seen much of them. So I think we've got the talent there, but I think scrum half is quite an important, tactically it's quite important to get the right guy there, because Grant will play a very different game to Jaden and to Faf.
Do you think it showed that the value of a Faf, especially defensively, the energy he brings, the mongrel he brings to that position, that in his absence, we're actually finding out just how valuable he is to the Springboks?
Yeah, but when the Boks play the way when they played Nienaber's defense, then Faf is an absolute machine. because it's up and it's fast and it's blitz and it's in your face. At the moment, the Boks are not blitzing. The Boks are on their heels and late to get up there and getting picked off. And so having a guy like Grant who can scramble to the edge of the field in 2 nanoseconds to make a cover tackle is massively valuable. I think Faf might get exposed in that kind of thing. When we're up and in their face and trying to pin them in and put them in a cul-de-sac and smash them, then I think Faf adds massive value. So again, it comes back to how we're playing and the positions we're putting our defense in with our attack.
Let's go back to then that attack, Tonyball as you call it, unemotionally. What variations do you see that he's added to the Boks? Whether you agree with him or not, but
Yeah.
What is it that you've seen or that you think people are seeing?
Yeah, so the Boks were a team that was set-piece driven. They would maul the ball from a line-out. They would be very direct, so the passes would be at a lower volume than what you're seeing now. Doogs would be direct. The pack would be direct. The maul would be direct. And then once that momentum is generated, it either forces a bad kick that brings Cheslin, KLA, or Villy into the game, or the momentum generates the space to play to those guys and they score great tries. What we're trying to do now is go wide first. So we're taking guys out of the line-out, so they know we're not going to maul now. We're taking guys out of the line-out to put them in the back line so that we have got ammo for multi-phase attack. And on paper, it's a great plan. In reality, it requires a skill set and a mindset player that is different to what is there in that Boks squad now. And I think innately, every single rugby player in the world starts out as a schoolboy, and almost every schoolboy plays to score tries. And test rugby, as much as you want to score tries, is actually about winning. And it seems like a subtle semantic differential, but there's a stark difference there. And so I think what Tony is offering appeals to the schoolboy in every one of those guys. But I think it takes the Boks further from the kind of rugby that has been proven over and over and over and over again to be the most efficient. And as much as the game evolves tactically, the fundamentals are unchanging. If you've got a great set piece and you can defend well, your chances of success are much higher than a team that has got great skills and can pass and create line breaks. So what we're seeing, you saw it on the weekend, you have a 3-man line out. The ball goes, there's a reverse in the play, they come back to the short side, there's a tackle, and immediately there's a turnover. Or you've got 2 4-man lineouts that we can't win because our options are limited. They contested, it was messy and scrappy, and then after all of that, we went back to 6+1. We didn't even know how to do that. I think it was an overthrow and a turnover. So I think the Boks are at their best when they take their lineouts and they drive them and they play off that momentum there, potentially get a penalty from that. I 100% think the Boks in the strike zone, and when they want to strike, can be better in utilizing their outside backs, but I don't think we should go away from the model that has worked for us for so long.
Right, Pollard got a start. Sasha came off the bench. Were you surprised that they did the straight swap and they didn't put Sasha to fullback, for example, and they kept Villy on and they gave Andre just the 56 minutes? And then what did you make of his performance?
Yeah, I thought Sasha was good. I wouldn't say he was at his best, but I thought he was good. I think reshuffling the whole backline for one change is silly. It disrupts a lot of things for no reason at all. Jesse is on form, our best outside centre, so moving him into a space where he's now covering kicks and things, I don't think that's ever been his best position, and I think it's unnecessary. So I was surprised they did it that way. The positives is they got to see Andre Pollard shifted out. Sasha got more game time. And we once again proved, as we did against Wales in Cape Town Stadium the last time they were there, that we can do a circus act and still win. We can move Oaks all over the field and we can still win.
But is that also not a deliberate thing to put ourselves in stress positions?
No, totally.
Because you could find that happening in a World Cup playoff game.
100%. Especially if you, in your back of your brain, you are going to go back to the bomb squad, like the real bomb squad, like the 7-1. Then absolutely, this is a great way to find out, well, what happens if we've only got one back on the bench and everyone has to play out of position? So there's definitely learnings in these things, and to be doing that, getting those answers while still winning is phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
And then the crowd support. I mean, every single test match sold out in South Africa.
Fantastic.
This season.
Fantastic.
Bloemfontein, Portugal was a sellout. Incredible vibe. There's so much love for this team.
Rightfully so.
They're ambassadors, they're likable, they winners, and they kind of speak and act the right narrative.
It's just a great bunch of
All
guys.
for South Africa.
Yeah.
It's all about South Africa, and that's
Yeah.
that's what they talk about: playing for the people, playing to put smiles on our faces on a Monday. I mean, they're going to play a hell of a lot better to put one on your.
Say that again.
Maybe they'll do that in Argentina, and you'll be beaming here next week, week after next. But it's just wonderful to see us also live with the favourites tag, because that's also been an area of vulnerability.
So true.
We've lost games where we should win in the past, and that's what's making this group for me very special.
Yeah.
Outside of the size of this group, because Rassie in the build-up to the Cape Town Test said he has to develop 50 players if they're going to win a third successive World Cup in Australia in 2027. And he's probably closer to 40 now than 50. So he's really spreading that net wide and saying, I'm going to give you a crack and let's see what comes through. Where do you see those the areas that he still would look at and say, I'm not 100% sure I've got a number 3 in that position?
Yeah, so for me, areas that I'd love to see us develop is the third choice hooker. I think Andre Venter is a guy that needs to be playing. I'd love to see him in the test arena. Grobbies, yeah. I see the value in him in general play. I'm not sure whether 98, 102 kilogram hooker is the South African way, but, you know, whatever. I see the tactical value in him getting in over the ball. I think Andre Venter is probably closer to Bismarck and that style of hooker, that sort of physical set-piece guy, big ball carrier. Tight head prop. Frans Malherbe is worth his weight in platinum and gold, you know. I think there's, compared to the rest of the squad, quite a relative drop-off there to the next guy. I keep talking about Wilco. I'd love to see Vincent Koch start more and just see what we've got there behind France, because an injury to Frans Malherbe would be a huge blow to this box setup. Locks, we've uncovered massive depth there. I think we need to get answers at 8. Like Jasper has played well, but like Pieter-Steph du Toit is a lock at 7. When I say a lock, he's locked in. He's dialed in at 7. He's our guy. Steer's our guy at 6. Who is our guy at 8? I think we need an answer there. We need to discover what life's going to look like post Faf de Klerk at 9. I think we've got great options at 10. We've got good options at 12 in terms of experience and quality, but I'm not sure about who's the next guy coming in there. So Dukes, Lucanio, Andre, I suppose. But who's the next person? Like, where are we going there from an age point of view? Who's the youngster coming through there? And the same in a way for 13.
They seem to rate Ethan Hooker. You rate him as well?
I do. I rate Ethan Hooker highly. I like him. And then Henko van Wyk is another guy to look at. So we've got options, but I'm just saying they're not really close to the box setup. I'll be surprised if we see Hooker play the Pumas. As much as I'd like to see him on the field, I don't know whether that'll happen. And then lock, we've got great talent, but I wouldn't say we've got youth. Lock, wing, we've got great talent, but I wouldn't say we've got a lot of youth there. So that's something to have a look at as well. And then fullback, I think when Gaza comes back, Willie Leroux, Apaleli Fassi, we're pretty locked in there.
And I mean, and we forget again that we've done this without a Damian Willemse. We've done this without
spot on
an Archie Snyman. We've done this without
Franco Mostert.
Franco Mostert. I mean, Franco Mostert is like the engine on that guy.
Yeah.
And Kwaga's kind of fulfilled that kind of role as well in terms of making that impact. I'd love to see, Sia's obviously going for the operation now, but Marco van Staden come through.
Yes, that's a great call. That's a great call.
And kind of also, you talk about them playing around with, who's the 8. I mean, at this stage, you wouldn't be surprised if they stuck Pieter-Steph du Toit at 8 and went with a Sia Marco kind of like 2 playing to the ball.
Definitely an option.
So I do like the way he's built the depth, and he's built it over a 6-year period. And I think the most encouraging thing for me is he's not retiring veterans. He's basically managing them and saying, you'll retire yourself, your body's not up to it. But I'm not going to spank you for 14 tests. You may play 6.
100%.
And that other kid who's going to play 8 is got 8 more tests than when he started the season. So that's, and like he says, it's a hell of a lot easier when you are winning.
Totally.
To do it.
Totally.
instead of trying to blood players in a losing cause, which Scott Robinson is doing at the moment.
Correct.
And kind of finding the patience levels aren't very
Very
aren't
high.
very generous in New Zealand towards
Right.
him
Yo.
either. Looking at World Rugby now, because we've also, again, Ireland series, we were very bullish that we would stump them 2-0. We didn't. It was 1-1. France up north. We saw how tight that was in the World Cup. Ireland in Paris and Dublin. We were on the wrong end of the ledger there. New Zealand is at their lowest ebb that they've been for a while. They're starting to rebuild, and Australia is just a mess. So there's also got to be some context and some
I'm glad
perspective
you're saying that, mate.
to the rah-rah.
Really?
Because when we go and play England,
Yes.
Scotland, and we know that Ireland is still waiting and France is still waiting the year after that, it'll be a bit different.
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you, in all sincerity, like, how do you rate this All Blacks team to maybe not the greatest All Blacks teams, but what you traditionally expect from an All Blacks team? And I'll ask you the same question about the Wallabies. England are probably closest to how they usually are. France, where are they? The state of world rugby is not at its peak.
Yeah, we pretty much, I would say, there's not a hell of a lot between us and Ireland at the moment. I would say that they are our toughest challengers. And they trouble us the most in games. And the results have indicated that. This is a very special group of Springboks. I still maintain, I think the 2009 side, I felt is to me the greatest Boks side I've seen in terms of a 1 year kind of dominance.
And if those guys played the Bok performance on Saturday, so Victor and his gents
Yeah.
were the All Blacks, and that Bok performance on Saturday, Brian Abana scores a hat-trick.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that kind of forward dominance, the kind of class that there was in the backs. So when I hate comparing eras as well and going back in timelines, but everything is about the contest. So if this Bok team was playing the mighty McCord team, it would be very different to what we saw there. I mean, I go back to when they were also chomping us 11 out of 12 wins. If they were playing this Bok team now, it may have been 5-on-5 or 6-5-1 draw kind of thing. So loving the moment, loving the fact that we are winning, and we won 4 in a row, and we've won big ones, ones that matter. We won the World Cup. We won the Freedom Cup back, which is important for that squad, and it's put on our way to win just our 5th Rugby Championship in 29 years. So it's Aussie have got 4.
Brilliant.
All Blacks have got 20, and we've got 4 going into this one. And under the Rassie era, the only one we won in 2009, and they played 3 matches because of the World Cup, so it was a shortened one. So this was the kind of statement they had to put down, and hopefully they'll go unbeaten, win all 6, and that's what world champions do.
Glorious.
But wow, has Australia ever been this poor?
Mate. I mean, literally, somebody just pulled the plug at the 60-minute mark there in Argentina. That's it. They got on the plane and went home with 20 minutes to go.
You know, preparing for the Bledisloe, and for what are the British and Irish Lions going to do to them?
Sheesh.
Yeah, I'm surprised Joe Smith got on a plane and went back.
But every single one of these teams, with the possible exception of the All Blacks, Australia definitely needs somebody who can come in and make them more rugged physically. Like somebody's got to bring the best out of these players from a physical point of view. They need to have somebody with the technical insight to make each of those guys more efficient physically, because there is nobody else to sign. There is nobody else to bring in.
Well, it's not going to happen because of their Super Rugby format.
Exactly.
And they all play a similar style, and it's all coast to coast, side to side. Looks wonderful on the eye.
Yeah.
Like those Bledisloe Cup tests will be entertaining.
Yeah.
You're probably looking at a 38-31 result kind of thing in Sydney, and then a 45-30 result when they're playing Wellington. But it's not advancing their rugby.
No.
And I think they've consistently said it as well, that they are the biggest losers in terms of test player development by their players not coming to South Africa, playing 3 matches.
Big time.
In a Super Rugby season, not coming here for playoff matches.
Big
and where
time.
our game has just improved by going to the URC, playing in the Champions Cup, where you're playing French teams, English teams, and then you're obviously playing the Celtic teams in the URC, a lot closer to Test rugby than what the old Super Rugby was.
Yeah. No, definitely. There's no substitute for that week in, week out grind. And unfortunately for the All Blacks and for the Wallabies, they're just not getting that playing each other at the moment. The talent level just isn't there. And tactically, those teams, from a sort of rugby philosophy point of view, they adhere to that schoolboy style I spoke about earlier on. So it's great on the eye, easy on the eye, but it doesn't prep you for the test arena. And so, yeah.
I'm going to ask you this. At the start of the season,
no doubt.
If I'd said to
no
you,
doubt.
2 wins on the trot against the All Blacks, convincing win in Loftus against Ireland.
No doubt.
Wonderful occasion against Wales at Twickenham, Portugal, and then going to Australia and backing it up with 2 different teams and thumping them. Would you have said, I'm taking it?
Absolutely. That's why
positivity.
That's why it seems unreasonable, mate. Because what more do I want Rassie to do? He's winning all these games. They're beating everybody. You can't argue with the results, mate. The results are absolutely top draw, and we must enjoy these wins, 100%.
But don't you think that we have to go through these kind of irritations, frustrations?
No, that's my point. We don't have to go through this.
Why not?
We are opting to go through this. We don't need to go through this. We don't need to change the way we play to get these results. We can get better results playing the way we were playing, and we can still bring the kids through. So that is exactly my point. It's an unnecessary detour. And as long as we keep winning, it's fine. I just don't know how this is helping us, but maybe that's just a reflection of my inability to understand Rassie's long-term plan. Maybe this will make perfect sense in 2 or 3 years' time.
When they get to Australia for 2027 and we can play with the pace of a Japan,
Correct.
But also revert to playing with the mongrel and the dog of the Springboks. The All Blacks, how far are they off the pace?
Yeah, they are some way off. They are some way off, and they are going to have to dig deep and get really smart. They need to go find some alley thugs to add to that team. Some guys that are not there for the ball, who are there for the trench warfare. Like I said, Satiti was a great guy to put in there. Hoskins Satutu, I'm not sure where in the world he's at, if he's available, if he's eligible. That's a guy you could add to the mix. Shannon Frizzell, I know he's overseas. You need to get some of those sluggers back in there because you don't even have a base to work from at the moment. You're just getting manhandled. Lock is a major issue. I don't know how they're going to fix that.
No hope for Australia? A glimmer of hope for the All Blacks? Because I'll take comfort from the differentials, 6 and 4 points, 4 and 6 points. But it's not really a reflection of where the 2 squads are at the moment.
No. So when you had the Kiwi scribes over for a Bright Jaws, on my way out, I said, and good luck for the Bledisloe, and they all burst out laughing. So you'd expect the All Blacks to beat the Wallabies, but mate, there's so much history in this thing, and one thing that the Australians don't have for the All Blacks is any kind of fear. Like, even though they may be the underwhelming underdogs, there's none of that sort of like reverence for the All Blacks like England, France, Ireland maybe have. So you never know, mate. Joey Schmidt, he has a keen understanding of how it all sticks together. And if there's one game those guys will pick themselves up for, it's for the Bledisloe Cup.
So who would have thought that the Bledisloe Cup would be 3 plays 4, and in Argentina it's 1 plays 2 in the Rugby Championships. But the fortunate thing is that we are number 1.
Boom.
We are the world champions. We have now won the 2019 and 2023 World Cup. We've beaten the British and Irish Lions in a series. We drew a series against Ireland. We got that kind of monkey off our back slightly, not completely, so there's still something to play for. And we did Australia back-to-back away from home, and we did New Zealand at home back-to-back. And in between that, we took Wales out and we took Portugal out. And with that, you can't really complain.
No.
Bokke by 10.